Yo, JD here, Limitless, and as you can see, back on F1 2021 as always, and we arrive at Zandvoort in the Netherlands, because obviously we have it this weekend in the real life Formula 1 Grand Prix, and this track has been for the last couple of years, probably has been my favourite track to drive on the game, despite not having the results I wanted. I always feel my pace is extremely good around here, particularly in the race pace. So I thought, you know what, let's try against the AI, because I used to do 110 AI videos for quite a few years now, long time ago, but I haven't done it for quite a while, and I've heard that the 110 AI is very challenging on this game. So we're going to put it to the 100% AI first, because this is what I see quite a lot of experienced people use, and apparently it is still a bit of a challenge. So I'm going to put on the setup, a TT setup from I think the #1 time on the leaderboard. So this isn't my own, but it felt pretty nice in itself, and I did quite a low 8 with this, which was quite competitive. So I feel like I'm definitely getting on the pace already, and this is on the PC, so as usual let me know how it looks. So in this one here, we're just going to see how this 100% AI is in the Mercedes car. So we get a pretty decent launch, and going down the inside, just a little bit of wheel banging there. So just getting the elbows out a little bit. But now we're just going to see what our pace is like, if we can even put away. Because I do see some people who run 100% or even lower than 100 AI, and it's still quite challenging, because I think last game there were a few tracks where the 110 was very competitive, but then most of the time you could beat them quite easily if you were a decent level player with experience. But now it definitely seems to be a lot more difficult, even just with the 100%. And I think the aim with the 110% now is to make it almost not nearly impossible, because I do see a few people do beat it, but I think it's very track dependent. I think on some tracks it is very tough, and I was told that this was one of the hardest tracks for the 110% AI, if not near impossible. Especially doing a last to first apparently is near impossible. So if anyone does do that, then I will be giving them £100, because you will see later in this video they are very tough. But with this 100 AI, I didn't find this too difficult. It's really going through these sequence of corners, the ones we're coming up to now. So going through this right-hander, the sector 1 is pretty good, but you can see by that delta, they just eat into your time. They are just unnaturally fast going through these corners. They're just an absolute alien on steroids coming through here. But Sector 1, Sector 3, I feel we pretty much have the upper hand on them. But it's just for this middle sector, and you'll definitely see later on, they're just outrageous. So going through here, you can see that delta's going back up again. See, we're going for a fast lap here. Don't know if we're using all of the ERS or not all of the ERS now. I think we're going to go for a fast one on the start of this one. So we're going double purple. See, the gap is almost up to 2 seconds. I think now we are going to be pushing for fastest lap, as we do a 9.9 without using much of the ERS, so that's a fairly competitive time. I always remember when I do lobbies on Xbox, if you dipped into the 9s at all, that was actually a very competitive time. And I feel on the PC now, as I discussed with my previous video, I feel the stability and just the frames and everything, that the potential for a lot more time is there. So you can see we're going much quicker, 24-2 without the DRS. So it's a pretty nice first sector, to be honest here. And you can see we are going green. See, that gap did come down slightly, because it's just through that middle sector. They're very strong. But it's from here to the end of a lap that I feel we will be gaining a little bit more time. So really pushing with the ERS this lap. Let's see what kind of lap time we can do. It's an 8.081 as a world record TT. Typically you go about 1 and a bit seconds quicker, 1.5 to maybe even 2 seconds sometimes around most tracks. So that normally gives you a good reference for what your TT pace will be like. So coming off the final call here, using the rest of our ERS, what kind of lap time is this going to be? It's a 9.5, so pretty competitive, I feel. I don't feel that's a bad effort in the slightest, but the next lap we didn't use any of the ERS, and you can see we've lost about 7 tenths comparing to when we used the battery. So that's how much time you can sacrifice if you just risk it all on one lap. Then you're going to have to be paying the price if you want to be saving your ERS again. You can see going for that corner, we take a bit of a tight line, which from watching a few others might not be optimal, so I do have to experiment with that. So we're pushing again on this final lap just to see how durable these tyres are, and I think it's safe to say, you can see by the gap, it's not super easy. I think for people who are not quite on this pace, it would be a pretty good challenge with the 100% AI, but for me, I feel it's pretty comfortable to beat them. And if this is meant to be one of the hardest tracks, then I think around most tracks it will. It definitely won't be a walk in the park, especially if you started last or something, but it's not really going to be too much of a strain here. As we're coming off the final corner now, it's going to be a nice, comfortable win with this using the rest of our ERS. Let's see what kind of lap time we can do. Coming across the line, it's going to be a 9.7, almost a 9.6. So, fantastic. That was a good test with the 100 AI. I think it's a pretty good level, to be honest. Not impossible to beat, but for most people, I think that would be very challenging indeed. And especially if you're running like a default setup or not a good setup, then I think you would definitely be stressed racing against the AI. So I think the balance is definitely much better than the previous game. But now we're going to increase that to 110% AI. And again, I was told that this was probably the toughest track for it. So we've got 5 lights here. As they go out now, trying to get a good start. We've been put into 4th place this time, and immediately the AI just getting an absolutely insane start. So making a little bit of wheel bang, hitting the back of Max Verstappen. Do we get damage? Yes, we do get damage. So we're going to have to... There'll be a few retakes on this. So there might be multiple attempts to try and get the best result possible. And if you look at my total race time from last time against 100 AI, it was 5 minutes and 53 seconds. So keep that in mind as well, as we get a better start this time to not be beaten by Carlos Sainz, but he just wants to stay around the outside. The AI just really want to keep their nose in at times, but we luckily managed to get through that unscathed, and so far so good. So let's see how fast they are now. Going through the 6 corners are very fast on 100 AI, but on this, I think you could probably work out what I said there, because the speed, look at the gap that they've done. It's just absolutely insane. You can't match that at all. And I'm running 11:10 downforce with the leading time trial setup. It's just, I guess 110, that is really what it says on the tin. It's unhumanly performance, unless you had career mode updates. You're not really, you just can't go that fast through the corner. But it's through this last sector and the first sector. I feel like we could definitely match them, if not quicker in the first sector in particular. So we're going to stay on board again. Let's pay attention to this delta. So gaining a bit of time through here. So our turn 1 is pretty good, and I think through here we'll be gaining a bit of time as well. So driving quite nicely, staying nice and tight. So I'm trying to gain a lot of speed on the entry rather than the exit. As you can see, we're about 6 tenths behind. Let's look at this delta. Let's see how much it increases. So about 6 tenths going through into it. Purple first sector, but oh my, it is just, that's 6 tenths, 7 tenths, 8 tenths, almost 8 tenths going through into there. And I was starting to lose my head, because you just have to push so hard, and yeah, pushing too hard to try and keep within that delta for the DRS. Yeah, so the AI are definitely fast with the 110, but you can see once again having another attempt here. So purple first sector as usual. See that gap has gone up to 1.2 seconds. Getting on the throttle just a little bit. Trigger happy or pedal happy going through there. And you really have to be driving your balls off to be keeping up with this. And honestly, I've said this already. If someone went to a last to first in a 5-lap race against 100 Ti around here, I'll give them £100 today if someone does that, because I just think that is, I think it's impossible, to be honest, to do that. And I know there's definitely people faster than me for sure, but yeah, they are just too OP, particularly in that middle sector. They are just far too OP. So we kept on trying though, because we want to see if we can even win this. I bet someone would be able to win this, but I think you need the one-shot quality and starting on the front row of the grid or something, because it's just, they're just too strong through this middle sector. So we're getting a little bit frustrated now and getting a decent launch this time, but then yeah, me and Signs aren't making good friends here. So after this, we decided to try and give it just one more trial run, just to see what our pace can be like and see if we can at least get on the podium. So as the 5 lights go out, trying to get a good start, and we actually get a reasonable launch here, but the AI do get a very good launch. So we're going to go down the inside, making sure we don't hit our front wing with that car, and we managed to out-muscle Verstappen. So we do have the slower of the two teammates up ahead of us, which typically the AIs of Hamilton and Verstappen are going to be the faster ones. So this is probably more optimal for me, but as you can see, that gap is half a second. Let's see what it's going to be coming through into here. You know, it's already half a second, and yeah, 7 to 8 tenths they gain through into there. And let's see if they gain any more going through this left-hander. So it's about 1.2. Do they gain any more going through here? Not really. So it's just really that really long, fast right-hander, and the right-handers, the 2 right-handers after it as well. I say it's about 7 to 8 tenth gain going through to there, which is just insane. But going through this last corner, I think they get a good exit off here, but down the straights we seem to be quite strong as well. And yeah, the sector 1's good, but it's just that sector 2 just for the seekers of corner. So 11.7 opening that. That is just absolutely ridiculous. But right here, I'm just going to try and go as fast as I can. Maybe see if I can pick off Perez. If I could do that, then I would be extremely happy with that. So coming off this bank corner, which I really, really do enjoy. See, we're about 4 tenths behind. So just under 4 tenths behind. Let's see what's going to be. So purple sector 1, once again, so that's nice. But just the out of this world grip that they have through here, that is just so stupid. That is just crazy. But as I said before, that is probably what 110 AI should always be, where it just has that extra 10% that you just cannot achieve in some corners. And that is definitely the case. But you can see we're making up time again, going through into the star sector. So we are still hanging on in this DRS zone. So that's really the goal here, to try and do that. So using a bit of our ERS now, then we're going to turn it off to just use that momentum going down the straight. And what does Bottas do? He does a 9.2. We do a 9.6 as Verstappen does a 9.1, which is just ludicrous. I think that we did a 9.5 before. I think a 9.2 definitely is possible when we get used to the setups a bit more, or maybe even a 9.1. So it was someone on a freakishly alien pace, I think, could keep up with this. But in terms of doing a last to first or something like that, it's just, oh my, that I would be very impressed to see that if someone does that, and someone probably will do that very, very shortly. But you can just see through these sequence of cores again, just they are just so fast going through here. But we do make up the time. We aren't close enough to get the detection point going through to here, so we're going to try and get the DRS coming through to here. So about 1 second behind, but going through into these sequence cores, I really love this chicane going through to here. I really just love how you have to throw the car into here, into this last corner again, doing that very nicely. Not using any of the ERS because we are going to be close enough. So just going to try and save some of that battery power. As come across the line, we do another 9.7. Verstappen does a 9.0 now. That's just less than a second off the world record. It's just madness how fast they are going around here. So coming through into this, And I actually think going against this AI will probably be good practice for a league race or something as well, because if you can keep up with these guys and put away from around this track, then you're definitely doing something right. But once again, absolutely insane. Can we stay in a detection point? I don't think we are, because it's going through this corners as well. It's going to be quite fast, but this is where we start to gain back that little bit of lap time. I'm pushing very, very hard here. Might not look like it because I don't make too many corrections, but I am pushing very hard. Just we're a little bit up on our time, taking that fairly nicely, just getting a little bit of understeer, taking just maybe a bit too much curb on that occasion, using the DRS or ERS to get within the TRS coming through here. And what do we do now? We're using the overtake button. We'll go get in this detection point, and we are going to improve, I think, just about on the fast lap as we do a 9.6 now. So this is very, 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 very fast pace here. So Verstappen still holds the fastest lap of the race, but we are able to keep up with Perez. I think it would have been very difficult to keep up with my teammate now. But you can see using all the rest of this overtake button. This is the final lap of the race here. What we're going to do in this first sector, so it's a 24-2 first sector. So again, pretty good first sector without having the with the overtake, well, not the hot lap, if I can speak, the hot lap as you would do in the qualifying mode, but still trying to stick with him just out of this DRS zone, so just missing that here. We are improving on our lap as well, but Verstappen is coming up very, very quickly behind us, so he's on an absolutely insane lap behind us here. As we go to be in detection point, maybe. I think we might just be outside, but no, we actually do get it here. We are going to prove on that. Bottas does an 8-9. We come across the line, but 9-3 in the end. So yeah, we needed a DRS to achieve that, but in a nutshell, the 110 AI, I think, is almost nearly impossible to beat right now, especially with a last to first. Maybe if you started on the front row or something like that, and I think, you know, someone probably can, but I think it's going to take a very, very pretty crazy effort to do that. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed the Grand Prix. I will be live streaming 2 league races this weekend. One on Saturday at 7:30 and one on Sunday on PC at 8 PM. So I really hope you stay tuned for that. Thank you for support on the channel, and I will catch you very, very soon. Peace.